Now, in advanced mode, there's a couple settings. Hell on your computer and send your computer into a reset loop. If you don't do it this way, it's not gonna do true RAID 0. Hard drives, 170 megabytes, we're flying at well over 14,000. Thunderbolt card next. Do not use the gigabyte drivers for your Thunderbolt 3. You'll set your computer on fire. All right, welcome back. We're on day 2. We're gonna be putting the unit in the case. Today, let's build the #1 computer for professional audio in 2020, the 3960X by Ryzen Threadripper. We're going GeForce 2070, huge case, Trident Z Neo RAM, and CL16, going 124 gigs, TRX40 Designare motherboard, PCIe 4 Express, M.2 cards in. We have combiner cards, Thunderbolt 3 in our Windows-based computer. Power supply, the HX1200i. My name is Jimmy. I go under DJ Infect. I also go under DJ Infectious. You can find me on YouTube. Check me out. You can see that I make awesome music. Click the link below. I've cleaned up my workstation a little bit. I've also ordered fans that fit because I had actually ordered the wrong fans, so they should be here soon. Let's see how we're gonna do this. So first and foremost, I wanna put my case on the side. That way, because in this particular case, the way the motherboard's gonna be installed, it's gonna be facing up. So our connectors are gonna be across the top. Furthermore, I just wanna show you guys one more thing. As you'll notice, there's all of these wires that are inside the case and these front ports here. I wanna make very clear, these are USB 3.0 ports. They will not work with Thunderbolt. So it's very important when you're buying your case to make sure that you have the right ports in front. And in my case, when I was buying this particular build, the TRX Designare in combination with the Ryzen Threadripper is so new and has so much advanced connectivity, I couldn't find a big enough case to go without, to get the cooling that I wanted and the reliability that I wanted in a case with the right connectors. So for me, when I want to use my, USB 3.2 Gen 2 or my USB-C, real USB-C or my Thunderbolt, I'll have to connect my wires directly to the motherboard, as well as I can also purchase, which you can see here on the side of the motherboard, and you can see this in our very detailed motherboard video where we really zoom in. There's plenty of extra connectivity. So you can double, even triple the amount of connectivity that's on this side of the board to get a whole array of extra ports, and all in which are connected directly to the CPU. They're not going through any sort of USB controller inside the board. So it's gonna be an even faster version of the USB Thunderbolt 3, all through the PCI Express lanes. And then furthermore, we have our Thunderbolt 3 add-in card, which I've shown about 20 times in this video. So I'm very excited about getting Thunderbolt on Windows. Back here, you'll see there's a whole array of wires. And actually this little piece here came with the motherboard that I'll be connecting a bunch of these small wires into. This is gonna be for your reset, your power on, when you power your system on. There's gonna be some wires here for USB 3.0. So long story short, these will be plugged into the motherboard when we get there, this way. And I just noticed underneath our case, got some more stuff. And as you can tell, this case is very open, so it's very easy to get to things when you need to. Now for the moment of truth. Get this guy in. A lot of moments of truth, you guys haven't noticed. Okay, first and foremost, we're gonna run these wires through the back panel. Actually, we're gonna just run them down here for a second, and we will figure out which panel we'll be running them through as we move on. Really don't want the metal touching metal. We still haven't mounted our second fan here. We're gonna have to figure that out soon because we cannot seem to find the brackets. Using my hand underneath to give me a little bit of ability just to kind of bring it down like so. right? And now here's the next step. So first, we're gonna get our screws, and we're gonna have to go ahead and screw in the motherboard. Now, I did want to point out, when you're laying your motherboard, you're gonna see spots like this, like this. There's one here that actually shows that it's supposed to go into your case. For example, like here, where you can add a screw in comfortably. Now, keep in mind, on this build, we still haven't bracketed the fan. There's supposed to be a bracket there. Second of all, you can see, just as you're a little bit more up close, just all the awesome additional connectivity. We're gonna be putting our video card here, and you know, there's your, right here is actually your TB_C header, and that's gonna be for your Thunderbolt 3. You're also gonna use a USB 2.0 port, yada, 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 which is over here. So we have a lot of connectivity that we're gonna be doing as time goes on. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and screw in our motherboard. Look at this, the beauty of magnetic. See, makes your life very easy. Make sure you're not stripping anything. Boom. So you have to be very careful when doing things like this, that you don't accidentally damage, you know, your board by hitting one of these very small, you know, soldered on resistors. All right, let's go ahead and pop these out. All right. All right, and these two are gonna be where the video card goes. So these should pop right off, boom. Now, let's take our video card. I'm just gonna mount that in. Now, while mounting your video card, because it's so hard to see, I recommend sort of bending down, utilizing 2 fingers in this position, sort of control your way in. So you can eye it up right into the slot, supposed to go in. Line up, there we go. Now we're in. If you wanted to pop this out, there's no way to get to that clip I was showing you before. So that's where you would use something long, unless you had really small fingers, to kind of get in there. All right. So now that that's in, you want to take these screws and just go ahead and, you know, put them back in place. I mean, that is a pretty easy installation. Now, the next card we're going to install is our Gigabyte Titan. The reason why we're installing this one is because we're going to be using this TB header right back here. So we don't want to use another one of these slots, and it kind of goes over and it's hard to get to. So it's just easier to put the Titan in first. So let's go ahead. Let's get this one undone. Quite a big motherboard. It seems to be utilizing all of the space in the case, which is pretty cool. And again, we're just going to line it up, push down. Perfect. Let's go ahead and lock that in place so that that's out of our way. Then we're going to go ahead and plug everything in. Seems to be a little finicky, but it is definitely in place. So now let's plug in our, let's first off take our power cable. Let's move it back here. We're going to be doing that with our module later. Okay. Now let's take our TB cable that's already connected into the TB header of the card. And let's go ahead and plug that in. And on this particular board, it's the smaller side. Okay, make sure that that's in there. In there pretty good. All right, so that's done. Now we have this one that goes in our USB 2.0, which looks like it's going to be a little hard to get to. So let's see if I can get it in. If not, we're going to have to remove the card, plug it in, and then put it back. We're locked in, power cord. Make sure that these are properly in. Yes, they are. Good. Next, we're going to be installing our super fast SSD. So this guy right here, nothing plugs in the front, but it utilizes that PCIe 4 express lane, and it really just gives you a tremendous amount of speed. Okay, so now if you're wondering about why this video card kind of blocks off the ability to use your lane down here, in the event that you were to run dual video card or you really needed this slot, you can buy a water version of this by just removing the top part, giving you extra space to run multiple cards. That way, we can put back the ones that we're not using. Let's go ahead and get this guy in there. And it's going to get a little tricky, but I think we can do it. All right, and again, I'm going to bend down, eye it up, make sure we're properly lined up, make sure the switch is open, pull this down. I missed. Okay, there you go. All right. These front panels, your USB, audio, microphone, power on and off, all that good stuff, they come into kind of some weird wires. So first off, there's a power connector right on the motherboard. This box goes directly into it, but before it goes into it, there's a bunch of small wires here that have to be organized. Power, hold, reset, LEDs, so for powering on. So first you have to take this small box, plug all of these in correctly, and then that box goes into your motherboard. Second of all, right here are the two USB 3.0 ports that are on the front of my box. But just for convenience, I'm gonna plug these wires in there anyways. I know they're gonna work, and I know that I'm gonna be able to do simple tasks through these front ports. For professional audio, like your audio interface, you're definitely going to want to use the ports that are directly wired into the motherboard, as well as if you have the luxury of Thunderbolt 3, use your Thunderbolt 3 card. So let's go ahead and plug all this in. One there. All right, so we got our USB 3.0 ports. I want to show you guys, this is our live audio, so our internal audio that's on the motherboard. You never know, maybe your audio interface isn't working, you just want to throw a pair of headphones on, whatever. Now we're in. Lastly, this contraption, getting this to work is going to be tough, but it says what is supposed to go where. So for example, this one says LED, so let's find the LED, bang, and let's slip it in the spot. And if it doesn't fit, and we know we had it in the wrong direction. There we go, click. You want to hear. Now we're just kind of plugging in the final fans, double checking everything's in the right spot. And right on the board, it's going to say sys fan, CPU fan. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now again, you're going to see another sys fan 2 here. Let's go ahead and plug that in. Let's get a doubler on that. Cool. We have that ready to go. Now down in here, you're going to see these are like pump fans and whatnot. We don't have that. Don't need to worry about it. All right. So now we have more ports here. We're going to be running one down here. Let's see if I can, if it reaches. I might need to get some extender wires, but nope. Look, because of the splitter, we're actually able to reach. So that's awesome. We're going to be running it like so. The motherboard also came with a wireless internet, and you can screw them in if you want to use wireless internet. That is something that most of the time I would recommend just keep disabled if you're making professional audio, and hardwire your computer directly to your router. That way you don't have to worry about, Wi-Fi type of things going on while you're trying to record your professional audio. And let's go ahead and get our power supply plugged back in. And I'll show you guys very quickly all that connectivity ready to go. Our NVIDIA cards right there. Our super hard drives right there. Our beautiful Thunderbolt 3s right there. Some beautiful wire management. Right here, these are the two spots for our net wireless if we want that. You have plenty of audio ins and outs as well. You have your network. This is a dual gig, which is perfect. Plenty for audio. And even videos, it's fine. So you could have one going to like a backup server, another going to your regular internet. So yeah, there's lots of options. You get tons of USB 2, Gen 2 on here, your USB Type-C right there. You have BIOS and you have flash BIOS. So if you do have like an issue with your BIOS, you can go back to the original BIOS and it's got other BIOS. So like you can use it for overclocking, and it is one heck of a deal for a motherboard. So I'm really happy with that. So let's go ahead. We're gonna face it down because there's extra ventilation down here, and we also have the extra ventilation right here. So being face down is perfect, right? We have the power plug switch. I'll plug these in a second as we had before. I'm gonna go grab dinner and I'll see you guys in a sec. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna connect our power supply. The thing is, they're all keyed. So there's no way you can accidentally plug in one of the wires from the other side of the computer where we've already looked at, we plugged everything in while it was on the test bench. It's continued to stay plugged in. And all we did was just run our wires, for example, through these flaps here, allowing us to have a little bit of cable management, and actually pretty easy cable management. And then now we just go ahead, like how we did before, and plug them back in. Pretty hefty cables. So there's our 24 pin. There you go. All plugged in, easy peasy. Now just go ahead and you can tuck in your power supply. Like so. Done. In this particular case, this is pretty good. However, there's 2 screw spots here on the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw 2 screws in. Let's get this done. And our really nice Be Quiet wrench that we found, or a screwdriver. I still have a whole bunch of small fans. Whoa, still have a whole bunch of small fans that I do want to get in all the right places. I had ordered the wrong size initially. For example, these, which can, be put in on the sides, but I really wanted the right fan sizes for the other points in the case. We'll be doing that in a little bit. All right, so we are plugged here. Let's go ahead. Let's just turn this around. Whoa. Very tight workspace, to say the absolute least. As you guys can see, it's starting to look really good. We got the full computer mounted in there. The only problem that I'm seeing right off the bat, this wire right here is very close to this fan. So that's something that we definitely are going to need to take into account, and we need to make sure that this fan is secure. At the same time, this wire isn't accidentally making itself inside that fan. But everything else looks great. I think we've done a great job. We definitely, little things like this shouldn't be touching here. So we definitely need to worry a little bit about wire management, but I really want to see if this thing posts. Let's go ahead. Let's turn this puppy on and let's see where we're at. Okay, moment of truth. Power supply is on. Let's come around and we're going to use the motherboard start button, because we do still need to test all of that good stuff. But just for the heck of it, let's just get this baby fired up. If I can find the start button. It is. Right. Beautiful. Fan is very quiet. Oh, we are hitting here, which I knew was going to happen. So we're going to definitely need some really good wire management. Got some fans touching. Oh, I don't like. It just hit my finger. Luckily, it did not cut it off. All right, so we got some wires hitting in some spots. Like over here might be hitting. Where is that coming from? Got it. Yeah, remember we didn't mount this middle fan yet? So that's where that's coming from. All right, looks like we are up and running. All right, we posted to Windows. So now I've got a keyboard and mouse. Before I go for any further, I wanted to show you guys that I did have a bit of an issue. When this card was installed, it was overloading the PCIe Express lanes. There's a few reasons for this. I have to look a little bit further into it, but this card right here, the Thunderbolt 3 card, is notorious for causing all sorts of issues. So I pulled this out. I was able to post the Windows without an issue. So I went over here with this PC, and you notice how I only have the C drive. So currently we're not seeing the adding card, this adding card right here. So the reason being, and you know, this is kind of part of the installation. I'm going to try to zoom in on the screen just to show you guys how to get that working in RAID. It's either going to be RAID 0, and that's going to allow you to use the full, all 4 NVMe PCI Express Lane 4 read and write speeds together. Restart. All right, so I'm going to go and handle all the updates. We have the entire machine working. I did want to go over a few changes after my Windows updates. Essentially, when I went to go plug in my Thunderbolt 3 card, I ran into a whole bunch of problems. So let me explain to you what you have to do. Couple changes within the chipset and the setup that I was showing you before. Apparently, in the older models of the TRX40 Designare, apparently having the Thunderbolt 3 card all the ways to the left, as we had initially, causes some sort of problem where the motherboard PCI slots, even though there's 88, gets overwhelmed. After a whole bunch of updating and a whole bunch of, fixing, I had to actually also move the card to the second slot. And then finally, I was able to boot utilizing both of those perks. Now, I'm going to give you guys just a couple examples showing you that everything is running, which is absolutely awesome. So example number 1, I have right here a sub-rant, which I like, Nano. Right here is an Apple cable, all right? So the cable does matter to get true 40 gigabytes per second and guarantee that you're using proper Thunderbolt. I purchased my cable from Apple, under 1.5 feet, so I'm all set. Now, if you can notice on the screen, right here, I have my C drive, or an E drive, which is just a very small 8 gig thumb drive, which you will need for your adding card, right, that we talked about before, the AIC adding card. Now, here we have our D, which is saying 1.81 terabytes. That is your adding card. So first, let me show you guys Thunderbolt 3. So we got the right wire, the whole 9. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in to my Glen Ridge Titan. All right. Now, you'll notice as soon as I plug it in, boom, came right up, Rocket Nano. All right. And as you can see right here, boom. All right. So that gives me this. So we know for a fact that the Glen Ridge works, okay? So that's number 1. I'm gonna go ahead and unplug it. Just, you know what, I can leave it in for a second. All right, so Nano works. Next, I wanna show you guys the crystal mark. So let's go all. So first off, you need to change this to 64 gigs. All right, now this is gonna prove, oh, hold on. Let's change this to our D drive, okay? Which is, as you can see here, are 2 terabytes. Which is the adding card that I chose to go with. Now I'm gonna click all, okay? Now, what this is gonna show, number one, is just how fast it does 64 gigs of transfer. I've heard people running this software and it could take like 8 or 9 hours to do the 64 gig version. But as you're gonna see in a second, the read and write speeds are out of this world. As we're waiting on this, I did wanna mention a few things. During this setup, oh, hold on, there you go. Look at this read speed, okay? Look at this read speed. The setup to make all of these components work together is extreme. And I definitely will be making a second video that's step by step. Everywhere I looked online, there was nothing close to it. I had to use like 20 different videos. I had to take bits and pieces from each one. And there was really nothing that explained if you buy the Designare and you buy the add-in card, or it comes with it, and you have the Glenridge, Thunderbolt 3, and you have the 2070 Super going, and you have all of this greatness happening at the same time, exactly how to install all of the different softwares and change all the BIOS that you'll need done. So also, there's 2 paths, possibly 3, that will just send your computer into a total loop, making it almost impossible to take the software off of your computer. Second of all, restart loops are not fun. I saw stories where people had to format their, Windows and start over. So, and lastly, to get the add-in card working with the Glenridge Thunderbolt 3 and everything working together, you need special drivers, and it's very, very complicated. Let me just show you guys a couple tips just in case you haven't seen the next video, or I haven't made it yet, where I can zoom in on the monitor and really give you guys a proper, step 1, step 2, step 3. But let me just give you guys a little something that you're gonna need to know for when you build this computer. As you saw, the computer was super easy to build, but when you start getting into 88 lanes, and Gigabyte has clearly, as you can see on the screen, outdid themselves, right? They've created something that's like supernatural in compute world, right? Classic, hard drives, 170 megabytes, we're flying at well over 14,000 right now, right? So it's a big improvement. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull Internet Explorer up. Generally, I like Chrome, but this kind of has some tabs here. All right, so here's a couple tips. Number 1, you're gonna need to go to the TRX Designare Rev 1 BIOS update. Very important, okay? So down here where it says BIOS, you're gonna want the F4C, okay? Download that. Next, I wanna mention, you can grab some other drivers, that's fine, but you don't really need it at the moment, right? Just wanna scroll here. Okay. Right here, you see how it, right on their site, it says AMD RAID? They're kind of like updating this separately, so I would not touch this at the moment. Next, into AMD's website for the TRX40 driver support, and then you're gonna wanna download this first one, AMD chipset drivers. Okay, this is very important. Next, after this is downloaded, you're gonna want a Thunderbolt card next, okay? So to do your Thunderbolt card, okay, right here. So Thunderbolt 3 legacy driver for Windows 10 for Intel and UC. The Glenridge Titan is Intel certified Thunderbolt 3, and it's cross-compatible with Intel's drivers for Thunderbolt 3. Do not use the Gigabyte drivers for your Thunderbolt 3. You'll set your computer on fire, okay? So it just creates all sorts of problems, and it's a really tough time to get off your computer. So you're gonna wanna use these drivers, okay? Now, before you do that, you need to do a bunch of BIOS updates, which I'll show you guys in a second. Then you're gonna come back after the BIOS updates, and you're gonna start downloading this one, try to install it. Okay, this is the AMD RAID installer. And then next you're gonna need this, the AMD RAID drivers, okay? And like I said, I'll show you guys the BIOS in a second. Now, once you're here, okay? Now, once you're here, you're also gonna download a program called, I'm gonna open it up. You're gonna run it in admin. All right, it's called RAID X Perk 2. Okay, you have one array here, you have another array here. right here, you can see these are the 4 500 gigs together, right? That's what's getting us this real speed here, because this is gonna be true RAID 0, all right? So if you don't do it this way, it's not gonna do true RAID 0, all right? You can't do it just through Windows. So your array 1, that's running your Windows and whatnot, boom, okay. Now, what you have to do is you have to go first, Device Manager, okay, to get this to work, all right? Now you have to have a mini key card to update your Windows drivers if you've already installed Windows without having all of these downloads. So it's really complicated. This way is fine, and it will work. So under here, first you have to go to storage controllers, okay? And under storage controllers, you're gonna see your either Microsoft or Sabrant, or you might even see like Gigabyte, whatever your hard drives are, your SSD or NVMe's, you're gonna see the recommended drivers. And Windows is gonna give you a really tough time to update them. So it's a pain in the butt. So the way to do it, okay, so it's gonna be down in this area, sort of on the bottom of the list. So the way to do it is this: you click in, you go driver, you go update driver. Now you wanna go browse my computer. You can't use this. This will not work. You have to go, let me pick from my driver list. Still, this will, see, this is what it was saying before for me, standard NVMe. You do not want this. You have to go have disk, okay, then browse. And then under here, now that you're in your disk, which is my E, you go Windows 10, 64, RAID, okay? So let me show you even one step back. So it's gonna come with all 3 of these. You want RAID SATA, and then you're gonna go bottom, okay? Boom, you're gonna plug that one in, and then essentially I'm not gonna update it because I already have. It's gonna say, warning, this is bad for your computer. You have to force the update, all right? So you do there, you do bottom. There's gonna be 4 of them that you're gonna do bottom. Next, under system devices, this one right here, AMD RAID controller config. You're gonna go in, driver, update driver, you're gonna go browse my computer, then you're gonna click this bottom one, have disk. From have disk, you're gonna use back in your SATA folder, right here, second one, okay? Now, that's going to allow you to operate this software, the RAID Xperk 2. It won't work on its own. Plus, there's a setting inside EasyBIOS that you have to change to get this to work, okay? So it's a combination of the software and BIOS, okay, amongst some other things. So next, things to avoid, and then I will show you guys BIOS. Gigabyte App Center. Okay, this right here, that's supposed to make your BIOS easy to update, is a no. Do not download this. This is gonna create hell on your computer and send your computer into a reset loop. Okay? So we do not want this. No. Okay, no. So don't do that. All right, next, let me go ahead. I'm gonna hit Shift, Start, boom, Reset. Okay, now this is gonna allow me to get into my BIOS quicker. So I can show you guys what BIOS you need. Troubleshoot, advanced options, UEFI settings, restart. Now we're gonna restart directly into BIOS so I can show you guys what needs to be changed in BIOS. You don't wanna create your RAID array in BIOS. You wanna do it through that software, that RAID Xperk plus update the drivers properly. You can also reset your computer and hit delete, the DEL button on your motherboard, to get you here. Now, first, let's go to easy mode. All right, so let's hit F2. Okay, in easy mode, you see right in the upper right, it says AMD RAID Xperk 2 Tech on. That's number 1. So you want to take it from off to on. Now let's go back into advanced mode. Okay, perfect. Back in advanced mode. Now, in advanced mode, there's a couple settings. First, your I/O ports. Now, like I was saying before, you're gonna wanna get the Thunderbolt 3 working first. So in here, you're gonna wanna use, so don't do this yet. See the buffication, X4, 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 don't do that yet till Thunderbolt works. You can see here, I have the Thunderbolt configuration. It's working, it's reading, it's happy. So all of these need to be enabled. Enabled, LAN controller, enabled. I changed the above 4G limit to 48 bits. Above 4G decoding, enabled, okay? Now next, I'm gonna go down here, SATA configuration. This is, eventually this is where you're gonna end up. This is now for your adding card, SATA mode RAID, NVMe RAID mode enabled, chipset, SATA port enabled, and I just left hot plug disabled. I don't really need that. Let's go back. Eventually, when you start working on the adding card for the super fast speeds that we showed before, you're gonna wanna go X4, X4, X4. So you can simply take it from auto to that. Now under tweaker, you're essentially is right here where, see your extreme memory profile XMP, you just take it from disabled to profile 1, which is fine. We may be doing more with that later. And then under system info, you're not gonna touch anything. Now back under settings, you're gonna go IO ports, down here, SATA configuration. Okay, we did that already. Okay, RAID export configuration. So it's underneath SATA once that's all installed. Okay, controller management, right? So view controller information. That has to be, once you're in here, select controller. Here you're gonna see all of your NVMEs, right? The first one is your 0, that's where Windows is booting, so you don't wanna touch that. But the rest of these, you can click in some of the BIOS options that I did before. Under here, manage array properties. It's here, manage array properties, select array. So it's already doing what it needs to do, but array 2, before it showed all 4. And then essentially, let's say we select the second one, you see true RAID 0, RAID level 0. In the software, it should automatically do it for you. So these are the key BIOS settings that you're gonna need to look out for. As far as overclocking and whatnot, those are things we can get into later. A lot of it will be, AMD overclocking, a lot of it will be done automatically just by simply accepting, but that's not something that I'm too worried about. Plus, you really wanna make sure, this machine is already 100 or 1,000 times faster than probably your old machine. So you wanna make sure that your machine's super stable. And so far I've been super stable, because when you're making pro audio, live performance, you want the computer to run, just fine. You don't wanna be dealing with resets and all of that. Okay, after you're completely done, you're gonna wanna enable your XMP profile 1. That will allow, that's this area right here. This will allow you to get your fast RAM. So I have the DDR 3600 in there, CL16 1919 39. So after you're done getting the Thunderbolt and the card and the video card and everything working, you're gonna wanna update that. Okay, so let's exit out of BIOS. We're gonna do a video on optimizing your computer for professional audio. For example, even the video card inside your computer brings bloatware and brings slow things and doesn't allow you to get power. Now, we're not talking about overclocking, just again, stable overclock, deleting bloatware, just some stability in the video card. Next, we're gonna be doing video on your audio, video on your Windows setup. All of these things has to do with your audio interface. And, for me, I'm running dual audio interface. So I'll just give you one example. If you have, the built-in audio card enabled and you have an audio interface plugged in, sometimes the computer has to figure out which one it should be going to. Well, if you disable one, it just knows there's only one, so it goes right to the right audio interface as needed. You don't want any hiccups, you don't want any latency, you don't want any questions. The computers are super fast, but they're not super smart, so you really need to tell it what you want. You really want to get rid of all the bloatware And, you know, all of the things that we'll be talking about are going to be important. All right, just want to sign in. Yep, bang. Everything works. I can't complain. Build the next also hard build of a computer. We're going to be doing more of a budget build that you can edit 4K, 6K, 8K, as well as be able to run your professional audio through it. I'll just give you guys a hint. It's going to be 12 cores, you know, 28 threads. It's going to have the 2070 Super in it. It's going to be a really awesome machine all around. So we're going to be building that next. Anyways, my name is Jimmy. Thanks for watching. This was one hell of a build. We got everything we wished for out of it, you know, and more, because it's really exciting when you get here. We saved like $3 grand building it ourselves. And this little baby's my next level of professional audio. So to take, I mean, I'll show you guys. Ableton does some really amazing stuff when you know how to use it. And, you know, in my opinion, everything needs to be combined with a mixer. Anyways, I'm going to put a link below to my DJ mixes so you guys can see what I'm capable of. I'm also going to be coming out with the greatest hits, which is another video I'm going to make you guys, like essentially how to take all your best mixes, pull and take from each one your best mix part, and then blend it nicely in Ableton, turn it into an MP3, and now you've got something that sounds like you mixed all the ways through, but really it's just a mix of your greatest mixes, right? So yeah, well, thanks for coming. See you guys in the next one. I do not recommend at home doing a video or doing any sort of installation. I do not recommend at home without having proper workspace. As you can see, this is not the most ideal workspace. Hey! All done. All right, let's get this baby in place. The very minimal RGB that we have. Just classic. Pro audio style. Gangnam style.